You know, when you think of an official report, a government document, you probably think of something, well, kind of dry, factual, predictable. But what happens when that official record, in black and white, documents something that seems just impossible? Today, that's what we're digging into. That exact moment where the totally explainable crashes right into the unexplainable, all tucked away in a government filing cabinet.
I mean, just read that for a second. He walked up the wall backwards. That sounds like a scene straight out of a Hollywood horror movie, right? Not something you'd find in an official document. So the big question is, where in the world would a quote like this even come from?
And here's your answer. It's from a report filed by a family case manager for the Indiana Department of Child Services. Yep, this is where our story really kicks off, with the absolutely bizarre sitting right next to the totally bureaucratic, side by side on the very same page.
All right, so let's break down exactly what this document claims happened. This is really the heart of the whole incident, and believe me, it raises some pretty serious questions.
Okay, so here's what makes this claim so wild. It's not just what they said happened, it's who supposedly saw it. This wasn't just a story the grandmother was telling. The official report states that a case manager from the Department of Child Services, that's DCS, and a hospital psychologist were right there in the room and watched a 9-year-old boy do this. Now, this single crazy event didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was actually part of a much larger ongoing investigation by Child Services into the Ammons family. So let's look at the timeline to get a little more context here. And the timeline really shows just how fast everything blew up. The family moves into this house in November 2011. Barely 5 months later, reports of demons have them at a hospital. The very next day, the kids are taken into state custody. And just 3 days after that, the official report we're talking about gets signed and filed. It was a whirlwind. And the wall walking? That wasn't the only strange thing people documented. Medical staff reported seeing the younger 7-year-old making growling noises, his eyes rolling back in his head, and even being lifted and thrown when nobody was even touching him. At the same time, the police who went to the house noted it was clean, but yeah, it was also filled with a ton of religious shrines. So, here's the crucial part. You have to wonder how the authorities saw the mother, LaToya Ammons. The simplest explanation would be to just say she was unstable, right? But the official report says the exact opposite. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated her and found her to be of sound mind, with, and I'm quoting here, no concerns about her mental stability. Well, that just makes everything way more complicated.
Okay, so after all of this, a child walking up a wall, growling, being thrown by who knows what was the official government response? Well, the recommendations are almost shockingly normal. Counseling, find a new house, check for carbon monoxide poisoning. It is such a fascinating clash between what feels like the supernatural and the very down-to-earth world of state bureaucracy.
The fact that the official response was so mundane, it really makes you wonder, is a story like this a total 1 in a million anomaly? To figure that out, we've got to zoom out a little and look at the wider cultural backdrop of where this all happened, Indiana.
So, you have to ask, are there other stories like this floating around the region? Is there something in the local folklore that kind of sets the stage for these kinds of events? And as it turns out, the answer is a big, resounding yes.
For example, take the legend of Diana of the Dunes. You can find stories about her in local folklore forums, and it's a classic ghost story, right? A tragic figure, a specific place, and people seeing her ghost over and over again. This is kind of the bedrock of local legend.
But then the folklore gets even more specific, and a lot closer to the Ammons case. There's the story of the Indianapolis Poltergeist from 1962. You can see the parallels right away. Weird physical stuff happening like unexplained bites, a police investigation, and parts of the case that, according to the story, even the debunkers couldn't explain away. This shows there's a history of this type of event in the area.
And that brings us to the stories about the Central State Hospital. This is where folklore bumps right up against official state institutions. The legends are all about horrifying things being hidden within the hospital's walls, blending real history with horror. It kind of creates this cultural atmosphere where it might not seem so crazy for the paranormal to suddenly show up in an official setting.
So, if these kinds of stories are kind of woven into the culture, how do official bodies, like the police, actually deal with them when they pop up? You'd probably assume it's just with total eye-rolling skepticism. But the reality is actually a lot more complicated than that.
And this brings us to the final piece of our puzzle, an academic paper.
Believe it or not, this master's thesis surveyed dozens of police investigators to get their real-world views on using paranormal investigation tools, specifically psychics.
And the results are pretty amazing. Only about 22% of investigators were like, nope, no credibility at all. The biggest group, 40%, were either open-minded or had no opinion. And get this, almost 38% said they did think psychics had credibility. That is a long way from the universal dismissal you might expect from law enforcement.
But out of everything in the study, the most stunning, jaw-dropping statistic is this one, 92.5%. What on earth could that number possibly be?
Well, here it is. That's the percentage of cops surveyed who said they would use a psychic if a trusted source, another police agency, recommended one. What this shows is that for a lot of law enforcement, it's not really about personal belief. It's about being pragmatic and using literally any tool you can to close a case.
So where does that leave us? Well, we've got official state documents that read like a script from a horror movie, we've got this deep, rich cultural history of paranormal folklore, and we have data that shows the very people we expect to be the most skeptical are surprisingly open to unconventional ideas. It all leads to one final, really thought-provoking question for you to chew on. What do we do when the systems we designed to explain our world officially record something they simply can't?